I talked to Tyler Boyd. I asked him about you today.
Yeah, Marv, man, he my guy, man. He one of them blue collar coaches, man. He one of them hard nosed coaches who ain't taking no crap from nobody, man.
Welcome to the OT. I am your host, Elise Jesse, and yes, the OT is back for another season. We're going to do it a little bit differently this year. Last year, we brought you into the locker room a lot. We're still going to do that. Those interviews will be on this channel, of course, but now this show is going to be a little bit more me and you. We're going to be right here, and we're going to, listen to a guest here and there as well. You know how I am. I love bringing in those guests, those former players, those former coaches, love picking their brains on all things Bengals football. So that is what we're going to do this season. I do happen to have a guest this week on the show. As you may have heard, AJ Green is coming to be the ruler of the jungle on Sunday. A prolific wide receiver in Cincinnati. He made some key plays in big moments. He torched the Ravens, so it's fitting that he's coming back for this game. Marvin Lewis was the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals at the time, as you know. And he certainly brought out some great stories, some great memories from his time as the Cincinnati Bengals head coach. He also went into when he first noticed AJ Green and when they drafted him. And we talked about the evolution of the team since Zach Taylor took over from 2019 to now. I got his reaction on what he thinks about the Bengals paying Joe Burrow $219 million guaranteed. And we dove into a little bit about how Katie Blackburn runs things, how she operates behind the scenes. And so just an overall great conversation with him. I think you guys will certainly enjoy it. Here he is. We welcome in Marvin Lewis, and in Cincinnati, I don't think that you need an introduction, but we can certainly introduce you. Head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals from 2003 to 2018. You are now in an advisory role to the head coach at Arizona State. First of all, Marvin, it is so good to see your face. How are you doing these days?
At least it's great. It's great to be with you. I'm doing well, and in the throes of the football season, like everybody is now. So every day is interesting.
I appreciate you joining me because I know that, you're in the thick of football season. So the fact that you're taking time out means a lot to me. And I'm bugging you tonight because of a player that you and I are both fond of, AJ Green. He is the ruler of the jungle this week when the Bengals take on the Ravens in week 2. I kind of want to go all the way back to his draft day, even before that, 2011. You guys took him 4th overall. How did you first hear about AJ Green?
Ironically, I actually interviewed his position coach at University of Georgia for a job on our staff that off season prior to the draft. We obviously, with the draft, we had the lockout looming and so forth, but his position coach at Georgia was a guy named Tony Ball, who I had known from my time at the Ravens. And Tony was coaching the receivers at that time at University of Georgia. So knew a lot about AJ prior to the draft, and we thoroughly, loved him going through the draft process.
I know he's so soft-spoken he was with media. How was he, when the media wasn't around, when the lights were not around? What was he like? Was he the same? Was he reserved?
I think he was always much like most people saw him. He was always first in line to do everything. So it really wasn't much different than the perception that everybody had. The one thing I would say, he's very unassuming about everything. Just so many things. When he came to visit, I remember I met them at dinner at Ruby's downtown, and he ordered a steak, and I said, "Do you like steak?" And he said, "Oh, that's what I know to order." And, that's the simplicity of an AJ Green. I don't know, we were 5-6 years into it, and his parents were up during training camp watching, and I walk over and speak with these people, in the general public area. And I said, those your parents? Because I had normal parents. I had gone down to help at his football camp one summer. And he goes, yeah. I go, AJ, we have the VIP section over here. We have the tent, we have waters, popsicles, but that's the way he was. And, you just love him for that, how he came every day to work and worked his tail off, and great with his teammates, loved by everybody in that building.
And you think about his career, one of his best games against the Ravens specifically, where he had, at that time, a career high 227 receiving yards. He had 2 fourth quarter touchdowns. You guys ended up beating the Ravens 28-24. That was just a whirlwind game. What do you remember from that game watching it?
I remember talking to Ozzy afterwards. But no, just, they just had a difficult time covering him that day, and the explosive plays, the touchdowns that he scored, the last one to win the game. And, it was, his rookie year, we were playing in Seattle, and I remember him, Andy throwing the ball, and then just out of nowhere, this guy just comes up and blows up and gets the ball out of the sky. And I mean, like, it was one of those things when they say us or nobody. Well, it was definitely us, because there was nobody on that field that could get that ball but AJ Green, and just incredible play after play after play. The very first snap, there was a lockout year.
Yeah.
The very first snap they had in Georgetown, Jay Gruden calls him a go ball. Mike Zimmer wanted to strangle him, but it was to AJ. And when Andy let that ball go and AJ caught it the other end, everybody on the field said, I guess we have something here. He was just a joy in every way.
Yeah, he certainly was. And it's going to be crazy seeing him come back onto the field, almost like a full circle moment as the ruler of the jungle, and now standing on the sidelines or in a suite watching the 20-year-olds play ball. I've got to imagine that's going to be somewhat weird for him.
Yeah, I mean, it will be, but he was very appreciative of the opportunity, the things he did, and how he, so it's great. His boys, it's kind of like, we have the grandsons, he has sons who would always compare notes all the time. So it's been just really cool to watch him mature as a man, as a father, through this whole time.
Do you watch Bengals football these days? Do you have time?
I don't get to see much. I didn't get to see. I actually walked by somebody's office the other day on Sunday, and they had the game on, and I just saw a second of it, But yeah, Sunday's generally a busy day, obviously, in college football, because the preparation for the next opponent. I actually work with both sides of the ball here, kind of giving them an evaluation of the opponent and to the head coach. So, so I'm pretty busy that day trying to finish up my notes from the last game it just played.
Well, I'm interested to know, what was that transition like for you, going from the NFL and being the head coach of the football team to an advisory role? You're back in the advisory role as well after last year, but what has that transition just kind of been like for you in your career?
Well, it's been good. It's been fun. I enjoy the kids and the players here with the new staff at ASU this year. We have some young coaches, a couple guys. It's first time coaching their position at this level. So I'm able to help them. Obviously, the head coach is 33 years old. So Kenny asks a lot of questions all the time. And says, have you ever seen this before? And I said, unfortunately, I have, Ken. I wish I could tell you I had. But, and those are the things. And even to speaking with his wife and things like that, it's been fun. They give you energy, and the kids all the time, and so it's been a good thing.
Yeah, it sounds. And you're in Arizona. Gotta love the Arizona heat, I'm guessing, because your family's out there too, right?
Yeah, well, we have, our daughter and son-in-law, and there's 3 boys, and actually our son is living here currently right now too. So, yeah, so we're blessed to have everybody very close, and we're hoping that this weather starts to break here pretty soon. But when I was driving home from the game Saturday night at 11 p.m., it was still 100 degrees. So, hopefully it breaks here soon.
Do you ever miss the Cincinnati cold, the Cincinnati rain?
I don't miss I don't miss the cold. I don't miss the rain. I literally uh, last evening was going to go out, to go for a swim, and I opened the door and it was breezy and windy. And I'm like, I thought, it's too cold. I'm not going to swim. She's like, I thought you were going to
Oh
go.
my gosh.
And I said, it's too windy out there. I'm good.
In 100-degree heat.
Yeah, yeah. It was probably 95 yesterday.
Oh yeah, that's freezing.
Yeah. So.
You a winter coat at that rate.
Yeah. No, it's you get spoiled quickly.
Well, and the Bengals in the last 3-4 years or so, Marvin, they have undergone an intense transformation, it seems like. I don't know if you saw, I'm sure you did, but their quarterback, Joe Burrow, signing a contract that was record breaking, 275 million, 219 million guaranteed. What were your thoughts on that when you first saw that news break?
Well, I knew it was inevitable that would occur, and you know it was going to be bigger than what had gone down in the past, and that's the way the quarterback market works. We had that happen when Carson signed his first extension in '06, in January of '06. So, it's the way the NFL is structured and works, and Joe Burrow has been one hell of a football player. And he's done a great job, and they put a great football team around him. And, and he does, I don't know Joe, but just watching from afar, he seems to be a very good leader. The one quality I think is just incredible about him is he can have a bad play, and he forgets about it and moves on and makes the next great play. And, everybody, they didn't play very well last week. Well, they said that last year after the Pittsburgh game. So I watched that Pittsburgh game on tape when I could, and I didn't get to watch the game this week today like I normally I did last year on Wednesday. Yeah. And he made some incredible throws after some throws that I'm sure he wanted back when he overthrew for an interception that got run back a year ago, and he had a tip ball interception a year ago, but then he threw some touchdown passes that were incredible, on time, on the money. And I'm sure the same thing would happen if I watched last week's game and going forward this week playing the Ravens.
Well, Marvin, I am going to do you a favor and advise you not to watch last week's game. They did not score a touchdown in that game. It was pretty brutal. But Joe Burrow did not have a great outing in week one. I think it's 14 of 31 with a 52.2 rating. But he seems like the kind of guy who always has a bounce back game after he goes out. If he has a rough one, he comes back the next week, and it's like that one, the previous one never happened. You've been around this game for so long. What does it say about a player to be able to do that, to go out and bounce back like that?
That's just one of his amazing character qualities that he has, is the ability to put the last behind him and move forward and make the next best. And that's great. And that's also the mark of a great leader. And so he's done a great job of doing that. And, everybody in that building believes in him, and they will continue, and he will bounce back and go forward.
I remember you telling me a few years ago that Mike Brown just wants to win. He just wants to win the Super Bowl. When you saw the 219 million guaranteed to Joe Burrow, should that have been an indication to every fan who loves Bengals football that Mike Brown and Katie Blackburn, they will just want to win that Super Bowl?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I really do. I think, as I said earlier, we knew it was inevitable, and they would, they generally like to push to get those things done. before the season, so the player, and it's not hanging over the player where you got to answer questions about it all the time, which makes a lot of sense. They go about the business the right way, and they want to alleviate as much of the stress and the tension as they can in that building, and that's a good way to go about it.
I know you spent so much time, so many years around the Browns and the Blackburns. What is Katie Blackburn like in those situations? What is she like compared to, I guess, her dad when it comes to football?
Having been in the business all her life, and really my first times were in '03 when we got the free agency, and watching her dig in and go to work, and us signing some of the new free agent players we brought to town that first year, John Thornton, Reggie Kelly, Torrey James, Kevin Hardy, and guys like that, and watching her go to work to get those contracts done. And then I can remember her being frustrated when we decided that Carson was going to be our first pick in the draft. And like I guess it was the week before, and I was headed to grab some lunch, and I went and asked her if I could get her anything, and she was going to go walk or run on the treadmill or do elliptical in the cardio room or whatever. I could tell she was a little upset. She told me what was wrong, and so this is it's very meaningful to her, and she grew up. This is all she's grown up in all her life, and so that's what she works to do, and they work to do it so it fits for everyone. The one thing that as a head coach, I never had to worry about, well, we're going to have to release this guy because he makes so much. They make everything fit. So if you can play and you're still playing at the level you were playing at, you'll be on that football team, where that's not so across the league. Too many times guys get waived and cut because their salary doesn't fit into the model. And that's not true with the Bengals. They make it work and fit. And I think agents understand that it's gonna take a little longer, but they're gonna make it so it's good for everyone.
Do you remember why Katie wasn't happy about Carson being the pick?
Yeah, I think at that point, Carson's agent had made somewhat of I think he would still admit it today, a little bit of promise to the parents about something or another in the deal. And Mr. Brown wasn't going to let that happen. And I literally spoke to Carson's parents about that, and we were able to smooth that over. And Carson's agent was on a plane the next day.
Way to make it work.
So, a lot of good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of that when you're the head coach of the football team. I want
the player, and they want to make it fit.
I wanted to also ask you about your Ravens days, because I believe the year that the Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2001, you led a defense that set the record for the lowest points total given up. Will you just describe what that year was like for you?
Well, I think we had finished we had finished the 99 season playing pretty well on defense. I had got let go after the 98 season. Our coaching staff and Coach Brian Bullock hired me back to be the defense coordinator again. And so I was able to pick up where we had left off. And we continued to play better and better. Our young players kind of grew up and matured. We had some great veteran players, a great leader in Rod Woodson as well. And, those guys were the smartest group of players. They understood the opponent inside and out. And they played hard and they played fast. They were very prideful. And they just didn't want the other team to score. And point blank, I mean, they would get upset with me that in the fourth quarter, if we were winning the game, if I, took out some of the older players and put some of the dump-offs in, because they did not want the other team to score. And so, no, they were incredible group, and a very, very special group. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's a record that'll never be touched. What they did, and it's really cool.
I mean, heck, you're only allowed the Giants to score 7 points in the Super Bowl. That had to have felt
That
good.
was a kickoff return at least.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
I love how you
So,
immediately defended it. Like, no, hold on.
well, the incredible thing I tell people that they did is in the regular season we gave up 16 touchdowns. In the playoffs, we gave up 1 touchdown in 4 games, including the Super Bowl. And so that, to me, is what's incredible about what they did to play 20 games and give up 17 touchdowns. And at the end of the year, against the best team, give up 1 touchdown in 1 game. And that was the first drive of the Tennessee Titans game down there in Nashville. And so this incredible group of guys. And, and the thing, obviously we did the HBO special or the ESPN 30 for 30 special. And it doesn't quite capture the fact that there were 16, 17 guys on defense that played legitimate snaps.
Yeah.
And, there was more than Ray, Goose, and Rod. But, they were personalities, and all of them were personalities, including the other guys that don't show up on that in the show as much. We had a lot of personality, a lot of character, and, they had a lot of fun playing together.
And going back to Cincinnati for a second, do you have a favorite year throughout your coaching career in Cincinnati from 2003 to 2018? Do you have a favorite year that just kind of sticks out for you?
I really, I think every year, I was talking with somebody just the other day, and we were talking about something, and it was actually on Tony Grossi's show in Cleveland prior to the Bengals game. And, my first win was in Cleveland. I didn't think I was supposed to win a game. No, but my first win was in Cleveland against the Browns.
Yeah.
And, and that was special. Winning the division, going to the playoffs the first time in 2005 was very special. Bouncing back from our season that we had in 2008 to the making the playoffs and winning the division, sweeping the division in 2009, where we were really injured and beat up. It's special. And then obviously when Andy and AJ were rookies in 2011, and Clint Bowling and that whole group, and going through the lockout and everybody saying, oh, they're going to not be very good. No more Carson, no more Chad, no more T.O. And look what the guys did. And so, I mean, just incredible group of coaches that I had, somebody asked me today about, are you proud of your accomplishment? Well, I didn't do any of this by myself. I did this with the coaches. I did this with the people upstairs and everything. And so, every year was cool. 15 was really cool. It was a great season until we lose Andy. And, unfortunately, our best seasons, some of our best players got injured. And we're able to overcome them and move forward. But that's the way it goes in the NFL. You got to have some luck. You got to stay healthy. And the ball's got to bounce your way a few times.
I really don't think people... I think sometimes they underestimate how important it is and how difficult it is to keep a team healthy for now 17 games. I mean, that for a guy to stay healthy for that many games to be able to perform at the level that he needs to play at is incredible.
No, you do. You really do have to have some luck, and the way you practice and train, and we adjusted that all the time to how we did things. I literally, after the 2013 season, I think I read an article that Aaron Rodgers was quoted in talking about how McCarthy had changed the schedule for the Packers, and Aaron going in the playoffs is the best he ever felt. And so I began to research. I knew part of it because I had spent some time with Chip Kelly at Oregon, and went to the system that Chip used, and we switched to that system. The stadium got overhauled underneath, which I think they did again this last offseason again with the training part and so forth. But we made changes and we went forward and, to try to keep the guys, again, to keep our players healthier and give them a better environment. And that's what it's all about all the time.
Is there anything that you miss about this? I'm going to guess you probably don't miss being at the podium as a head coach. Is there anything that you that you miss about being in Cincinnati itself? I don't know if you're a Skyline eater or not.
No, not as I had not.
Is there a golf course that you miss?
Well, it's the Macatiwa Terrace Park. I missed that. I know Macatiwa's on an overhaul. I'm actually traveling to Cincinnati in 2 weeks, whatever it is, for that game on Monday night. So maybe I'll get a chance to ride over there and see it. But, no, I miss the people. Had a lot of great friends, a lot of great memories. Obviously, Mike Brown, the Blackburn family, I got to see all the family but Mike at the Hall of Fame for Ken Riley's induction. So I was invited to do that. So I really enjoyed and appreciated the invitation to go and be a part of the Bengals contingent for that and see a bunch of the ex-alumni, the old players, alumni players. I want to call them old, the alumni players.
They're not old.
Because I'm as old as they are. So
You're not old. They're not old either.
To see Lapham and Louis Breed and Isaac Curtis and Anthony, and just to see, that whole group like that. And was a lot of fun, Jim Breach, to see all the old Bengals and, that, I haven't seen in a while, John Prine. It was really cool. And to be with them and Bill Connolly, Eric Ball, and then the Blackburn, the girls now. And it was a lot of fun.
It sounds awesome. It sounds like it was the perfect mix of some of the best people.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
Worth
the 25 hours I spent in Akron or Canton.
Did you say 25 hours?
Yeah, or less.
I want to play something for you. I talked to Tyler Boyd today. And he's one of him and I think it's Jermaine and Joe Mixon. I think those guys might be the last on the roster.
I think Josh,
Logan,
the defensive tackle.
Yeah. There's only like a handful left.
Just a few left.
But I asked him about you today, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, Marv, man, he my guy, man. He one of them blue-collar coaches, man. He one of them hard-nosed coaches who ain't taking no crap from nobody, man. And that's what you need in, this time, because there's a lot of coaches that's going to let you go by and get over easy. But Marv was a guy who was a straightforward, old-school guy that make you put in the work and don't, you feel me, let nothing get away from just taking it lightly.
I appreciate it. Good luck. Hard-nosed.
Well, I guess that's a good thing.
Yes.
We played in a hard-nosed division, so we had to be hard-nosed.
I would say so.
I grew up in that division, so as you said, I coached for them all. I got checks from all 4 teams in that division at one point in my life.
I feel like you're one of the guys in the world who knows the AFC exactly who they are, their ins and outs.
Yeah. Well, no, I was in that division for 26 years, so yeah.
Same.
But no, it's really cool watching Tyler, and we have a receiver here at ASU right now who reminds me a lot of Tyler. And then the NFL scouts asked me about that player. That's why I compare him to Tyler's Boyd, and then they go, okay, that works.
Yeah, check mark. Yeah, we'll look into him.
Yeah, that works. So that's really cool. And it's funny because with Tyler, my father told me about him when he was in high school. They actually played against my high school team in the playoffs. When my dad was alive, he used to go watch the high school football game.
Oh my gosh.
Before he went to Pitt.
Such a small world.
Yeah.
I say that all the time, but we live in such a small world where there's so many connections.
Yeah. No. So, yeah, and it's great to, see a guy blossom like that. It's been just fabulous to see Joe Mixon. The time, you know, spent with Joe prior to the draft and just everything. And then, just watching him, and one of the coolest things was the next year when I was at Oklahoma after Joe's rookie year, and we were back there on campus for Orlando's workout. I was there for Orlando Brown's workout because I knew his father,
Yeah.
in the offensive tackle market, and watching Joe with the current class that was coming out from Oklahoma that year, Baker Mayfield, Mark Andrews, and that group that was coming out from Oklahoma that year, and watching how his former teammates appreciated him and how he celebrated them. I mean, he was carrying water bottles and giving them towels and water while they were working out. That was really cool. I knew we had picked the right guy yeah.
That's a really cool story because I have never heard that, but I know that he had, kind of a sour reputation coming in, but he was always so kind to me, still is. Just one of the nicest guys that I've come across. And was that what sold you on Joe Mixon?
Well, what it
Like just how his teammates reacted to him?
we'd already picked. He was already on our squad
Yeah.
then by this, but that confirmed we had made the right choice. I mean, Joe made a huge mistake in his life on his 18th birthday, and he paid a heavy price for that. But since then, he's done things correctly, and that's the good thing. The things that come up in life all the time, and it's not to judge him on the one thing. And we had to look deeper into the character of Joe. And I want to say that, our security director and Rusty Guy did a tremendous job, all the research he did. And, we had a lot of ties to Oklahoma at the time, with Coach Stoops there. And Lincoln was the coach at that point, but Bob was still around. So we really knew a lot about what was going on at Oklahoma. And, the coaches were very forthright with us.
Well, and this has nothing to do with him or how he plays or anything like that. But I remember the day that he came to Paul Brown Stadium at the time. And I don't know if I've ever seen that many media members at Paul Brown. If I am thinking about, a young kid coming in and being in front of 50, 60 media members, what was he scared? Was
Well,
he worried at all going into that day?
we had, Jack had done, and them, they had done a good job of preparing him for what he was about to, go through. And, that was the other part of once we put our chip on him, that to make sure we had everything in place to help Joe. That was important. We went back to his high school, researched through his teachers and the people at his high school and everything, his hometown and his high school. So there was a lot of research done, let alone other than just Norman.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. I remember you saying you left no stone left unturned when you were researching, looking up everything about Joe Mixon and figuring out exactly who he was as a person. And I would love to say, I am so glad to see your face. I appreciate your time. I don't know if you can see it right here. You see this ball back here?
Yeah, I see the ball. Yes. Oh, yeah. Very cool. Yes.
I was about to
Yeah,
say
baby.
that. Yes, I remember the day that you sent me a text. You're like, "Can you come to the stadium?" Because I don't think I've told this story on this platform before. And I said, "Yeah, sure," not really knowing what was going on. And I walk in, and there was a gift in your office, and it's the ball. And I remember I had to think back, but I remember it was the middle of training camp, and everyone had heard that I had had the baby, and my daughter, and you asked what were her stats. What was her length? How much did she weigh? What's the full name? I need all the details. And then you present me with a ball like that. I mean, it's a reminder of how going above and beyond for people is so cool and so important. You were definitely one of those people in Cincinnati, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, it's a special thing. That was,
Definitely.
it's funny because we always did that for all the players every time. It was great. Again, and again, credit the Brown family for allowing me to do things like that. So that was great. Really very cool.
Yes, you were definitely one of those people, because there's a lot of kind people in the Midwest, kind people, within the organization, but you were definitely one of those guys that just went beyond the normal call.
I still remember the one, unfortunately, I may have referred to a certain Cleveland quarterback is maybe a little vertically challenged.
Okay, hold on. I'm glad you brought this up. I'm glad you brought this because I remember that day, and I remember there was a reporter who I don't
Yes,
remember his name, but he came from
Little John.
Cleveland.
His Little
Yes,
John.
and
Little
one of
John
the
came up to your waist with your shoes on.
of course, that was the day where I wore 5-inch heels or something. I had to anchor
Yes,
snow later that
and
night.
in a little dress, and it was a brisk 38 degrees, and I said to you, some days fashion has to take a back seat as I walked by you.
I remember on multiple occasions you asking me if I needed hand warmers. I must have looked very cold in those blistery days.
Yeah, that was a blistery day. But when the players saw Little John out there taking a picture with you, and they walked by him and looked, and they were like, "Coach, we got you." And they proceeded
No,
to
I
beat the
remember.
hell
I
out of.
remember a coach coming up to me and he said, "Why did you bring this guy with you to practice?" I'm like, "He's been following me around practice. I have no idea who this guy is." And they're like, "Well, Marvin thinks you brought him to
No,
practice," and I'm like, "That has nothing to do with me. For the record,
no,
I did
yeah,
not bring Little John to practice."
Jack prepared me. He said, "You won't believe what the people in Cleveland did." And he said they sent a little person, and literally he was in the front row, and his feet weren't touching the ground, sitting in the front row of the press conference room, and he was reading all his questions off of his phone, and they were all about height. All of his questions had something to do with height, and so. Oh, and the best part of it, so I had to apologize to Mike Pettin. I apologized to Johnny. I apologized to Little People of the World, whose whatever organization had to send them a donation. After the game, after our guys proceeded to beat the hell out of Johnny Manziel and the Browns, of course the Inquirer had to get a picture of me shaking Johnny's hand, right? That was on the front page of the Inquirer on Monday.
Yes.
And
Oh
Mike
my God.
and Mike Brown says to me, "You're not much taller than him." And I said,
See, Mike Brown has jokes.
and he had a joke. And I said, "Mike, he had his helmet on." That's what Mike said to me Monday morning. That's what he said to me Monday morning. Oh, too bad. Too much fun.
I forgot about that moment, but I'm glad you brought that up because that my cheeks hurt from laughing.
So,
Marvin, you are the best. Thank you so much for joining me. I know you gave all of our viewers a laugh tonight. And good luck. You guys have Fresno State Saturday, right?
yeah, Fresno State. So, Kevin Coyle, former Bengal
Yes.
coach, defensive
Yeah.
coordinator.
Good luck. I hope you beat them by 100.
All right, me too. Me too. All right, thank you.